Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down one of the most dangerous journeys a person can possibly take. A journey where every single step could be your last, and the prize is something most of us take for granted: freedom. We are talking about the truly impossible escape from North Korea.
So, to really get a grip on just how difficult this is, we have to start at the most famous, or maybe infamous, border on the planet, the one separating North and South Korea. And it all really starts with a simple question.
Okay, so what is a demilitarized zone anyway? Well, by definition, it's supposed to be this neutral area, right? A buffer zone where nobody's supposed to have any military hardware or personnel. The name itself, demilitarized, makes it sound almost peaceful.
But here's the thing. That name is one of the biggest ironies you'll ever hear. The reality is the complete and total opposite. And that's exactly why the most direct route out of North Korea, heading straight south, is also the most impossible one.
All right, so let's break this down. For anyone who dreams of escaping by going south, you've basically got two choices: try to cross by land or try to cross by sea. And believe me, each path is packed with its own unique set of deadly challenges.
Let's be real. For any regular civilian, trying to cross the land border is a suicide mission. It's a landscape just layered with death traps. Even if you somehow, magically, slipped past the hundreds of thousands of troops on both sides, you've still got to deal with fields of active landmines and high-voltage electric fences. The only people with even a tiny sliver of a chance are the border guards themselves. And even for them, it's a massive, massive gamble.
So, what about the sea? Well, that's a whole other kind of lottery. You could try the West Coast, where the waters are a bit easier to handle, but the North Korean Navy knows this, so they patrol it like crazy. One wrong move and you could be pushed right back to where you started, or even into China. Or you could try the East Coast. The seas are much rougher, but if you get lost, there's a small chance you could drift toward the safety of Japan. Either way, you're doing this in a basic wooden boat, probably with no navigation tools to speak of.
So if heading south is basically a fortress, where does that leave you? Well, for the vast majority of defectors, the only other option is to go north, and that means starting a long and unbelievably dangerous journey into China.
For most, this journey begins at the Tuman River. Now, on paper, it might seem like the best shot. It's shallower and slower than other rivers. It sounds manageable, right? Wrong. It is crawling with patrols. We're talking about guards who hide in underground bunkers, just waiting for someone to make a move.
And look, even if you make it across that river, you are not safe. Not even close. You've just swapped one nightmare for another. You're now in a country with one of the most sophisticated surveillance systems on the planet. You likely don't speak the language, which makes you an easy target for human traffickers. And here's the absolute kicker. If you're caught, China is obligated by a treaty to send you straight back to North Korea.
To get through this, many people rely on this incredible network that's been called Asia's Underground Railroad. But let me tell you, this route is just brutal. First, you have to survive China without getting caught. Then, it's a trek through treacherous jungles and mountains into Laos. After that, you've got to cross the Mekong River, which is famously infested with crocodiles. And if you survive all of that, the final goal is to actually get yourself arrested in Thailand, because the Thai authorities will typically deport you to South Korea.
There is, however, one other northern route. It's shorter, but in many ways, it's even more hostile. I'm talking about crossing the Gobi Desert to get to Mongolia.
This presents one of the most impossible choices you can imagine. It's a real pick-your-poison situation. The Gobi route means you're trading the risk of getting caught by people for the risk of being killed by nature itself. Instead of patrols and traffickers, you're up against wild bears and snow leopards. Instead of humid jungles, you have extreme temperatures, scorching hot days and freezing cold nights. The one silver lining? If you make it, Mongolia, just like Thailand, is considered a safe third country and will send you to South Korea.
You know, not all escape attempts start with that desperate dash for the border. In a pretty strange twist, some of the most calculated gambles for freedom actually begin from within the system itself. And this goes for both the most oppressed and the most privileged people.
Okay, get this. It sounds completely backwards, but for some North Koreans, being sent to a brutal overseas labor camp, often in a place like Siberia, is seen as a golden opportunity.
So why on earth would that be an opportunity? Well, because these remote logging camps don't have the same level of security as the border. No landmines, fewer guards. But of course, there's a catch, a really cruel one. The government only sends citizens they think are loyal, who are healthy and, this is the key, are married with children. Your family is required to stay behind. They become leverage. They become hostages. This forces you into an unimaginable choice. Do you run for your freedom? knowing your loved ones will almost certainly be punished because you did?
Now let's flip the script and look at the other end of the spectrum, the elite. For government officials, diplomats, even international athletes, the reasons and the methods for escaping are totally different. They aren't running from starvation, they're running towards intellectual freedom.
As you can probably guess, money and status change the game. The elite can afford to pay brokers, bribe guards, and get their hands on fake passports. Forget trekking through deserts. They can often just buy a plane ticket. And because their work takes them abroad, they get a taste of the outside world, which just fuels that desire for a life they know is possible.
But even for the most powerful and privileged, the regime uses the same cruel form of insurance. Just like with the laborers in Siberia, their families are used as leverage. This quote just lays it all bare. Diplomats often have to leave their children behind in Pyongyang, held as hostages to guarantee their parents will come back.
So when you think about all these incredible, life-threatening risks, it's just staggering that tens of thousands of people have attempted these journeys over the years. It just goes to show you how desperate that hope for a different life can be.
But that desperate hope is now running up against an even bigger obstacle. Recent data shows a really concerning trend. The number of successful escapes is dropping dramatically. Tighter border controls in North Korea and in the countries around it are making these already impossible journeys even harder.
And this all brings us to a final, pretty sobering question. As that door to the outside world continues to close and as the walls around North Korea seem to get higher and higher, what happens to the hope for those who are still trapped inside, dreaming of one day being free?